are going to be coming on as guests, and they're going to be sharing what they're doing to succeed at a high level and taking a lot of listings, because that's the key. So if y'all have any other questions on that, please let me know. Otherwise, I want to bring you all as much value as possible. Is that cool?
Sounds good.
All right. And I saw that I went through the roster or through the participants list, and I recognized a lot of names on there from our Bold class 2 years ago. And Jason Carlton's on the line, and we actually had a little session the other day, and I think he's already kicked off his little method on how he's going to get more listings with for sale by owners. So contact Jason if you want to know that one. So listen, I want to start off real quick about, because you all are in Arizona, I'm in Texas. Have y'all seen the similarities in Texas and Arizona over the last couple of weeks? We're hot spots, right?
Yes.
And so like Jay said, stay safe. And I want to start off by talking about our health. The reason I share that is because, listen, our business grows to the extent that we do, and that's a bold law. And I really think that right now we got to dig down deep in order to go get those listings, to make our business go further and further and further. And I want to share this because about 3 months ago, 2.5, 3 months ago, my coach asked me what my health was going to look like at the end of this. And I started thinking about it right during the beginning of this pandemic. And I realized that I was doing what a lot of people are probably doing, which is watching a lot of news, eating a lot of potato chips, and just going multiple trips to the pantry and the refrigerator. I mean, am I the only one, or is anybody else there with me? All right. So yeah. And and I'm just being transparent here. And so it clicked, and I changed some things right then and there. And I've lost 22 pounds since then. And I share that with you because the energy that I have when I go on listing appointments is just, I walk out of every listing appointment feeling like I'm on fire. And the reason I bring that up is because we got to take care of ourselves first. All right. So, and Gary said this on Monday, whenever we had a live stream with him, is that we got to take care of ourselves. We got to watch what we're eating. We got to watch what we're drinking. We got to watch what we're doing. And in fact, Gary said this: you could probably go once a week and eat whatever you wanted, and it wouldn't change anything. Now, if you do it twice a week and then 3 times a week, that's when you start getting in trouble. You're probably sitting there thinking, why is this guy talking about health? Why is this guy talking about this rather than getting listings? This is where it starts. Okay, it starts with us, because how you treat your body and how you show up, that's the energy level that they're going to see. Is everybody with me?
Yeah.
All right, cool. So, all right, so let's go ahead and get into listing. Now let's get into the nitty gritty, because if you're an assertive high D personality like myself, you're probably like, dude, just get to it, man. Come on. And I was like, well, here we go. So I want you to write down this question. It says, what if I had to take a listing every blank in order to keep my license? What if I had to take a listing every blank in order to keep my license? Now, the reason it's blank is because every situation is different. One person's goals may be different than the other person's goals. There are some people that they have to take 2 listings a day in order to keep their business going the way that they intend it to go. There are some people, they want to take 1 listing a week. Now, I share this question because you're the one that's going to fill in the blank for that. It's like, what if you had to do, like, what if the Arizona Real Estate Commission said that, here it is, it's Wednesday, and if you haven't taken a listing this week, you have 2 days, 48 hours to take a listing, or your license is inactive. How would you treat that? What sort of intensity level would be going through your body? And the reason I share that is because that's the kind of intensity level we have to wake up with every day. Now, Jay, you said that it's a hot market. It's a seller's market. There's not much inventory, yet there are still listings going active every day. Is that right?
Correct.
Yeah. And here's what it comes down to. It's a fight out there. It's a fight, and we have to go, and we have to fight for, not for our client. We have to fight for our clients, because I don't know about you all. There's been days when I see photos online and I'm like, how do they get clients this way? iPhone photos. I mean, I think one of them was even like yellow date stamped on the bottom one time. And I'm like, just, so we got to go out there and we got to protect our clients. So in thinking about this, geographic farming is one of the ways that I built my business, specifically door knocking. Now, is there a lot of door knocking going on right now? No, there's not.
There is some, but not a lot.
Right, and not a lot. Now, what we have to do is that when it comes down to geographic farming, I do this because if you had to take a listing today, like if you just had to go out there and you had to take a listing today because mortgage is due in 2 weeks, or mortgage is due in a week, or if you were just, I know I've been there, and I'm going to be transparent. There's been times in my life whenever I look and I'm like, I got bills due and I don't know how I'm going to pay these. Now, whenever you go, all I'm doing right now is giving you tips on on how to think a little differently and then go to where the business is. Now, whenever I teach geographic farming, I always start with a pool of houses of 400 houses, a total of 400 houses. Now, here in Houston, we have neighborhoods that are 100 houses. We have some neighborhoods that are 1,000 houses. And there was, and I look at neighborhoods in between 300 and 600. And then what I do is that I divvy out those. I find a pool of 400 houses. So is everybody with me? Just write down 400 on your paper. 400 houses. The next thing I look for is a turnover rate. I look for a turnover rate of 10%. So if we have 400 houses and I look for a turnover rate of 10%, how many houses am I looking to have sold in that neighborhood in 12-month period?
40.
40, right? Yeah. So 40. So let's say I'm looking at that. I'm looking at the 12-month sales, and I see that there have been 24 homes that have sold in 12 months. Is that meeting my requirement?
No.
Okay. Now that's the most common answer that I usually get. Now, remember, thinking a little different. How many sides to every transaction? There's 2. There's a buy side and a sell side. So we're going to take that 24, we're going to multiply it times 2, and we have 48. Because when you start focusing on a certain area, chances are you're going to get some buyers out of that area too, from open houses, etc. So the next thing I want to look at is, and if I know I'm going fast, I'm going percentages, and what I know about realtors is that if we're not calculating 3%, I lose you. All right. So the next thing I want to look at is, does anybody have 20% market share in that neighborhood? Now, if we have 48 sides that have sold, we're going to be looking for an agent who has an average of 10 sales per month. Now, we want to do that because if you're going to go in and capture that neighborhood, you got to find out what your passion is and what your enthusiasm is whenever you get in there, because passion and enthusiasm will trump everything. Okay. If you go in there and you're not excited about learning about the tax rates, the schools, all this, you got to be excited about this stuff. So pick a neighborhood that meets your criteria and you get jazzed up about it. Everybody following me so far?
Yeah.
Okay. Now I bring this up. Now, there was a time whenever I started farming a neighborhood that another agent did own. She was selling a lot of houses. She even lived in the neighborhood. Well, here's what happened. She called a friend of mine who took a listing in that neighborhood, and she called him and said, "What are you doing selling in my neighborhood?" Yeah. You're reacting the same way I reacted. And he didn't do anything about it. And I said, you know what? Nobody's going to treat my friend this way. So I gathered my team of 4 agents together, and we literally went and we hit every door in that neighborhood every single week. And in the first 6 weeks, we took 3 listings in that neighborhood. In fact, They got so used to seeing us that we were getting phone calls and emails saying, hey, we know who you are. Just go ahead and put us in your database and we'll call you when we're ready to sell. Now, to this day, for about 3 years now, if you look at the MLS, no other MLS ID has sold more houses in that neighborhood than mine, because we hit that neighborhood. She hasn't sold a house in that neighborhood in 3 years. Okay. I bring this up because I was passionate about it. I didn't want her to go and bully people. And that was my drive behind it. Okay. So you got to have a passion behind it. So, so the next thing I would do is just go ahead and draw 4 boxes. Just draw 4 boxes. All right. And then put 100 in each box. 100, 100, 100, 100. And Jay, how many weeks in a month? Rounded.
4.
4 weeks in a month. So occasionally I get that high C personality that says 4.32 or something like that. And I was like, it's just 4. And on the top of each box, write down 1 on the first box, 2 on the second box, 3 on the third box, 4th on the second box. And when you take these group of 500 homes that have a high turnover rate, these 400 homes are the ones that you're going to target. Is everybody following me so far?
Yeah.
So so on the first week of the month, you're going to find a way to touch these 100 homes. Second week of the month, these 100 homes. Third week of the month, these 100 homes. Fourth week of the month, these 100 homes. And then when you have a brand new month, you start all over. Same thing, same thing, same thing, same thing. What happens is that you're building the relationship there. You're building the relationship, you're building your brand within that community. By the time you know it, if you put something on their door or they get a flyer from you, they're going to say, oh, Lisa, thank you so much. And just because they're not responding to you doesn't mean they're not listening. Doesn't mean they're not getting your information. Y'all, the flyer that I'm about to share with you all, or about to explain to you all, I haven't put these flyers out in 3 years, and I still get phone calls from them. I go in, and sometimes these flyers are still stacked on the countertop, and it's because of the information that is provided on the flyers. Now that goes into my next thing. So first thing we have to do is that we have to build we have to identify our area. Now, if you have a team, if you're an individual agent, if you're an individual agent, start with the 400. If you have a team, then you know what? Have every single person on your team pick out 400 homes, 400 homes, 400 homes, 400 homes. That's what we did on my team. At one point, we had 4 agents on the team, so therefore we were targeting 8 different neighborhoods. Every single person had 2 neighborhoods that they were specifically responsible for. So this goes from individual agents to teams, right? So the next thing we have to do is, what are we going to give them? Yeah, you know what? We've identified what we were, our area. What are we going to give them? That's the number one question I usually get. Now I want you to write down, there's 4 things right now, and there could be more depending on your area. I want you to think of the things that are easy for the information that is easy for us to gather and hard for them to gather. Now we can jump on MLS and we know the searches to where we can find out how many homes are active, how many homes are pending, what's the list price to sell price ratio in the neighborhood, what's the average days on market. All this information that's easy for us to get, we need to make it easy for them to get. Is everybody with me so far?
Yep.
Now, one of the things that you may want to stay away from, like we have some neighborhoods that were built in the late 70s, early 80s. Okay, half of them are updated, the other half aren't. Some are 3,500 square feet 2-story, some are 2,200 square feet 1-story. I would stay away from the price per square foot because the price per square foot could be so different. You want to make this flyer to where you can accommodate every person that gets it. Average sales price. There's a neighborhood here in Katy called Cinco Ranch, and the average sales price in the area is about $350. Now, You have some houses that are 250. You have some houses that are 550. And then you have a group of about maybe 100 out of like 2,000 homes that are in the millions. Now, if you say average sales price is $350,000 and I own $1 million house, it's not going to make me feel good. So you want to make sure that it's going to accommodate every single person that it could potentially come in contact with. Now, you could even break it up into sections. You know, it could be this neighborhood section 1 or something like that. That way they know exactly what you're talking about there. So these things, you know, it's about the data. So there are 2 things on my flyers that constantly changed. And the first thing was that market update. How many homes are active? How many are pending? How many homes have sold this year compared to last year? What's the list price to sell price ratio? Those 4 things were all in bullet points where it's boom, boom, boom. Because chances are they're going to get that flyer and they're going to throw it. Get it, throw it. Get it, throw it. You got to make it quick. All right. The next thing on that flyer that changed is that I had some kind of a wow factor on there. House on 123 Main Street was under contract in 3 days. Now, if it was your listing, you may throw up a picture of that little snapshot of that house on there. If it's not your listing, just put house on 123 Main Street under contract in 3 days. Okay. Any questions so far? Okay, give me some ahas. What have you learned so far before I go into the next detail about that flyer?
Jaime, if you would please repeat what you said about what details you do put on there. I know you said average days on market, sales versus list price. Would you just one more time say that?
Yeah, absolutely. And by the way, you got to make it attractive to the clientele. If the average days on market is 62, you may not want to put that. Now, if you have something cool that the average days on market is like 10, put it on there. All right. So some ideas are how many homes are active on the market? How many homes are pending? How many homes have sold this year compared to last year? The next one is what's the list price to sell price ratio? You know, if I'm looking and there's a list price to sell price ratio of 99.8, that's pretty good. You know, you even have some, I'm sure you all have some neighborhoods where they're in the 100%. You know, people are going over list price. This is a fun market. You know, I had a listing that sold last week and we had 3 showings, 1 offer, and it was over list price. And the reason they did that is because they wanted us to take it off the market before, you know, any other showings could happen. And so it's a good market right now. So thank you, Jason, for that. What other questions? Any questions, ahas, before I move on?
My aha, Jaime, is leveraging command to, if you're going to take that, you know, those 400 homes and you're going to hit 100, 100, 100, 100, you can actually through command select those 100 homes and send something out just to them and kind of have a nice rotation and really prime the pump is what you're trying to say, leveraging flyers and maybe postcards to prime the pump for your door knocking conversation. Yeah.
You know, and Jay, I'm so glad you brought that up. You know, when I started this whole thing, I think I probably had $26 in my bank account. I had just joined KW and somebody said, who's going to go knock 100 doors today? And I thought everybody did it. So I went out and did it. Well, I realized that 100 flyers cost me $3. And it was $15 a week because I knocked 100 doors a day, 5 days a week. So $60 a month could take care of all these, you know, 2,000 doors. And then I realized, man, it's part of my office bill. I can actually parlay that $60 until the next month before my market center charges me, right? So it was like the best thing that I could do. And that's how I built my business. I would literally just go and do this every single day. Now, I'm telling you all, I've used black and white flyers. I just went plain flyers and they're hideous because I designed them and I can say that. I went, after I got some jingle in the pocket, I started taking listings left and right from this. And then I went and got nice card stock. I mean, it looked sharp. glossy finish, everything. My results plummeted to the ground. Then I went back to the hideous flyer. Results went back up. Jay, I'll email you a copy of my flyer and you can send it to everybody. That way they can R&D it, which is rip off and duplicate.
Yep.
Right?
I mean, why do you think that is? Do you think that people saw you as more real by doing black and white as compared to fancy?
Donna, I'm not sure. I think that the data stood out better on the flyers, and when you see it right in the middle, it had 4 or 5 bullet points that shared the information that I just shared with y'all. Active on the market, and then right below it, which I know I have about 7 minutes left, and I don't want to skip this. Right below that was my UVP, or my unique value proposition. These are the 4 things that make me who I am as an agent. The things that are on every piece of my marketing material. I used to have my truck completely wrapped, and on my tailgate in reflective letters, it said professional photos on every listing, constant communication, aggressive marketing, and proven results. Now, when I say that, can you tell how passionate I am about that? And right now, with the scarcity and the amount of listings out there, we have to go and we have to express our UVP, our unique value proposition, in a way to show our passion in what we do. And those 4 things sum it up. And so right below the market update, right below that was my UVP, professional photos on every listing. We may think it's a given. It's not a given for everybody. Yeah. One time we listed a $25,000 lot, and it was about 60 miles away. It included, and it was going to cost a trip charge. It was going to cost extra money. And and I sent my photographer out there. I think I paid $200 for those pictures. And somebody said, "Really? You're going to do that?" It's worth $200 to keep my integrity.
Yep.
And be able to have that on my marketing material. So think of a bullet point or a UVP, something that you stand by that is your go-to, what you stand for in your business. People talk about aggressive marketing. Well, you know what, Mr. and Mrs. Seller? I'm going to give you all a little tip right now. Have you ever had a seller say, "We want to think about it," or we're going to interview other agents? Well, here's what you do. You say, "When are you interviewing that other agent?" "Well, they're coming by in 3 days." Wow. Would you rather me start working for you right now, this instant, or in 3 days? Because let me explain what I do. I'm not like every other agent. What I do is that I start working for you the moment you sign with me. And how I do that is because I have a list of 10 agents that have sold houses in your neighborhood. And before I leave, you'll actually see me in my truck. I will start dialing those agents and letting them know that your house is coming soon on the market. Because if they've had one buyer, chances are they have other buyers. See, what happens, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, is that I don't want to make this I don't want your house to come on the MLS and just sit there. What I want to do is do everything I can to drive the traffic and get as many buyers in your house. Does that make sense? And that's what we do. That's how we share our passion. And that when we talk about aggressive marketing, that's what we do. We have to develop something that's going to make us different than everybody else out there. Now, I trust you could hear the passion in my voice when it comes to that, because that's going to set us apart from everybody else that's out there. And the reason I share that with you is because, and I'll be transparent, a week ago or 2 weeks ago, we were going out of town for Father's Day weekend. Now, of course, we were going out of town. We were going to San Antonio, and a friend of mine calls me that he had his friend, his wife had another friend. And he calls me on Friday morning and said, "Hey, we're thinking about listing our house and we want you to come by." I was leaving in an hour. And I said, "Great, can I schedule an appointment with you next week?" So I scheduled an appointment for Tuesday because we were coming home on Monday. And I came home on Monday and I confirmed that appointment. He goes, man, I just want to tell you, we've already met with the agent that my wife knows, and we're pretty much 100% sold. So I don't want to disappoint you, and I don't want to. So yeah, hey, by the way, no matter what level of business you're in, it doesn't matter if you're selling your first house or your 2000th house. That happens to everybody, and how we feel when that happens is probably the same. So, I said, great, I'll see you tomorrow at 8 o'clock or 10 o'clock, whatever time we met. And I said, you know what? Michael Jordan said this: you miss 100% of the shots that you don't take. And I could have said, no, don't worry about it. Just go with them. No, you know what? I'm going to go in there and I'm going to fight. And then, so now to be honest, they're still making the decision. I just went in there and I gave it all we got. And I know what made a difference was that UVP. So, so with that being said, Jay, like I said, I'll send you that. I want to take a moment. We got about 2 minutes left. Just take some some questions. What can I answer for you? Or
type something in the chat or ask real quick for Jaime.
Hey, Jaime, it's Jody Koch here. I'm going to put my broker hat on for a minute and just remind all the agents that are making those great flyers that they have to identify the brokerages that are holding those listings that they're talking about on their flyers.
Right. You do have to do that.
Outside of Keller Williams, they have to identify the brokerage on the flyer if they're talking about specific addresses. That's
correct. And you'll see, Jody, whenever you see the flyer, you'll see that I guess right now our minds are going. And Jody, feel free, whatever you see on there, just let them know, hey, you know what? It may be different in Arizona than it is in Texas
that's our wonderful Lisa Sullivan broker job. I was doing that position for a while, and I'm going to let her take that. But I just want to remind all the agents, because I know that they, that's what they do, and they forget to do that.
We don't want anyone in trouble, so thank you.
That's exactly right.
Whenever you do
something. I mean, last statement.
Yeah.
You got anything you want to leave before you get out?
Hey, hi.
Go ahead, Emily.
Jackson here. So when you take these flyers out and you're knocking on doors, what's your go-to script? What do you say?
So, whenever I take these flyers out, I usually just make it really, really quick. And I say, hey, my name's Jaime Corona. I'm with Keller Williams, and I'm coming by to give you information about the health of your neighborhood.
Ooh, oh, nice.
That's all I say. Now, I've delivered thousands and thousands of these flyers, and I've only had one person not take them or not take the flyer. And I still walk down the driveway. Are you sure? Are you sure? And then I went back to the office and I mailed it to them. Okay. I had fun. Have fun with it. So I always say, and if they say, no, I don't want it, I say, you don't want to know about the health of your neighborhood? And then once they open it, I say, man, this is pretty good stuff, isn't it? And then they say yes, and everything's fine. So thank you, Emily, for saying that.
Thanks, everybody. Oh, go ahead.
Sorry, quick follow-up. Do you have anyone doing this currently with COVID and everything? So if they don't want to take the flyer, are you just asking for an email or text? Hey, I can text it to you so you don't have to touch my flyer.
Well, so I was thinking about that, Emily, and Jay, I'll wrap it up right now. One of the things that you may want to put on there is that these flyers were put out using gloves, sanitizer. You want to put all the safety precautions on there. One of the things that you may want to put on there is a safety precaution for COVID. I mean, there's so many different things that you can add on there now to deliver value. From what I gather, Emily, is that people are just placing them on the door rather than knocking on the door. By the way, you can use a strip of Scotch tape and tape it on the door handle, not the door handle. That way, all they have to do is just take it right off the door. Okay.
Awesome.
So listen, Jay has all my information. If you all need anything at all, please let me know. I'll get with David. Maybe we can do a follow-up series to this. Yeah. And it's been a pleasure. Remember, Bold Pivot, August 4th, for the month of August.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Jaime. We appreciate it. Everybody wave at Jaime. Yeah, nice.
See y'all later.
Right, I'm going to give Lisa, I'm going to give you an opportunity to give a real quick broker tip. while we're teeing up our panel discussion, which is going to include Jason Carlton, Emily Erickson, and James Werkeiser. So, Lisa, do you have anything you want to share?
I do. We just worked with Kathy Fowler to update the ABA for Catalina Title and Title Security. That will be coming out today. We will also have a new ABA for Interland coming out in the next couple of days. So both of those will be required on all files starting on next week. Showing time started June 23rd. Make sure that you select out of it if you do not want to use it. You opt in automatically on that if you're a listing agent. We're going to switch over to command August 1st, so start getting ready, be prepared for that. Let's see, coming quick. Let's see, vacation coverage. If you're going to leave town for any reason, make sure that you have coverage for your files. We've found in the past that they expect the broker to cover their client files while they're gone, and that's not a possibility right now. So make sure that you have your own coverage and let someone know about that. That's it.
Awesome. Those are great updates. All right. Thanks, Lisa. Let's move to the panel, and you three, James, Emily, and Jason, would you mind introducing yourselves real quick? And then I'm going to ask you a few questions. And before we start that, you're going to hear about listings over this next month a lot. In fact, there's going to be a listings contest that's going to roll out. We had started it at KLP, and then COVID came in and dismantled it. So we're going to resurrect it, and it's going to be a 1 KWSA wide contest. And right now, this is a pressing matter. So that this is an opportunity for us to not only get, for you to get personal market share in areas that you'll never give up. So we want to press into it. So Emily, why don't you go first, then James and Jason.
Hey, sorry about that. So what am I supposed to be doing right now, Jay?
Introduce yourself, please.
It's okay.
Introduce yourself, please.
All right, so I guess I'm introducing myself. Is that what I'm doing?
Correct.
Okay. So I'm Emily Erickson. I'm with the Emily and Eric team. My husband and I have been realtors for 3 full years and a few months. So we're in the Northwest or I guess we're Northwest. We're Oro Valley. And we basically do a lot of database. So sphere of influence. We don't do expireds. We don't do for sale by owners. We've been averaging 5, 6, 7 million a year right now. We're on pace to do 9 or 10 million this year. And we've been busy. So
awesome. Well, I'm going to dip into you in just a minute and ask you all some of those questions I texted you guys last night. So you're ready to go. All right, James, introduce yourself.
I'm James Werkeiser. I'm Team Integrity here in Tucson, and we are an expansion team as well. So we have teams in Kansas City, Las Vegas, Albuquerque, Salt Lake, and Phoenix. Been in real estate since 2005. Been on a team since 2007, and I am actually our team's listing agent. So that's my only job right now.
Awesome. So James brings a wealth of experience. Jason Carlton, introduce yourself. Jason Carlton.
Unmute.
Okay, there you go. I don't hear Jason. I know he was on.
Jason's
Okay.
on Zoom.
Here I am.
All
I
right,
was muted. My apologies. So been in the business for 2 years now. Had the privilege of spending my first year working with Tracy Jones. And this year, since the beginning of this year, I've been on my own. Last year, closed 50 transactions for about 13 million in production. Work with both buyers and sellers all over Tucson. Probably about 70% buyers, but getting more sellers all the time.
Awesome. Great job. You guys I can't think of anyone else that I would love, to have direct, especially some of our newer agents or maybe even more experienced agents that are struggling with listings. So we'll work our way back. We'll start with you, Jason. This is kind of a dual question. So I had asked you guys what type of lead generation is delivering the most appointments for sellers. And I'll follow that up real quick with if you had to get a listing today, what would you do?
Gotcha. So I looked at what I did in May and June. I went on I had 11 listing appointments during May and June. 6 of them came from my database. 3 of them were from circle prospecting, 1 expired, and 1 from door knocking. So vast majority is coming from my database. If I had to take a listing today, I would call all of my MVPs. I have about 200 people that are most likely to refer, either because I've helped them in the past or because they just really like me and I know they want to support me. So I would call my MVPs today, every single one of them, and I would probably use the competition script.
Okay, excellent. That's a great idea. So get on the phone and get in front of people. James, what about you? What's working best for lead generation to get appointments? And then if you had to get a listing today, what would you do?
So for us, we're very, very sphere heavy. The majority of our clients come from agent referrals and or sphere referrals. If I was going to get a client today, though, I'd hold an open house.
Okay. All right. How would you specify to get like a seller lead out of that?
It's amazing how many people walk into an open house that have a house they have to sell.
Okay, good. That's a different strat. You know, I haven't heard people talk about that. So you kind of build an open house thinking of, I want to attract people in this neighborhood that want to sell either the same kind of floor plan. Maybe they're just kind of looking around to see what that house looks like on the inside versus theirs, where you can engage in conversation and build the relationship and get their house listed. Mm-hmm. Awesome. Very good. All right, Emily Erickson, what about you?
Well, they stole the 2 best ones. I mean, those are the, come on.
All that works.
What happened to ladies first? No. So besides the 2 that were just mentioned, vendor to vendor. So I have a networking group that I would meet with every single week. And so I pick their brains about their clients and who they know and what they're doing. And that's where a lot of my listings, buyer and seller leads come from.
Awesome. That's excellent. So I'm going to start with you. We'll round robin back. Tell me, I think one of the things I've been going through some training with TLs and doing role play, and it's actually role playing the closing question. So I wanted to ask you guys, each of you, what's your closing question when you're trying to obtain a listing?
Mine's very assumptive. It's not a question. It's
okay.
All right, here you go. Let's sign. And then I just smile. So
you work through your listing presentation. Do you do a similar listing presentation for every client?
Just about. It doesn't change that much. If it's, a $100,000 house or a $600,000 house, it's pretty much, you give your, value proposition and you slide the paperwork in front of them and say, hey, let's get started. And then you shut up.
Good point, Emily. That's great. What about you, James?
I like the shut up line. That's classic. So many people talk themselves out of a listing.
Yeah.
For us, it's a little bit different style. I've done, Fast JT knows the agent that I worked with before. His name is Rob Lamb. You guys might have heard of him. I've been on a lot of listing appointments with him and watched him go through everything from the 1-minute listing presentation to what I do today. Today, we'll email everything to them up front. We do a lot of Zoom listing presentations. I'm interviewed a lot, even with past clients. This year, 40% of my listing appointments have been interviewed. So for me, it doesn't matter if I go first or last. And I don't bring any paperwork and have them sign right there. I just go over the whole presentation, and then it's about the ridiculous follow-up.
Okay. So can you give us just a 30-second overview of what kind of steps are you talking about in the ridiculous follow-up? Obviously, Gary says the money's in the follow-up. So
yeah, everything from thank you cards to even if you lose, they're still in my database. It's amazing how many folks have bought or sold a house with our team that I lost on an interview with 2 years ago. So we're not losing them. And it's telling them when you're going to follow up with them again. Hey, I have it on my calendar to follow up with you once a week. If that's not enough, let me know. I'm going to check in with you tomorrow. I know you're interviewing JT and then you're interviewing Jason, and they're both great agents. Either way, you're going to be well taken care of if you choose one of them, right? Yeah, thank you for letting me interview for the job. there, I mean, it's a, yeah, that's it, really.
That's it. Okay, excellent.
There's
Thank you.
very, there's very, I don't find myself talking somebody into listing their house that often.
Yeah,
It really doesn't.
you're more
most of-
consulting than what the process is.
Yeah, like Emily, if they connect with Emily, she's in, right? They connect with Jason, they're going to list your house.
Excellent. Jason, what about you? What's your
Yeah. Yes. So specifically, how do I close them? I make sure to do a great job of pre-qualifying them, because if they have motivation and it's strong, good, strong where, when, and why. If I go 3 deep with them, why is that important to you? What would that ultimately do for you? I don't have to close them. They close themselves. And so what I do specifically is I'll ask them 4 questions that I know they're going to say yes to. So it sounds like this, right? And you would also say this, right? So do that 4 times. And then I say, great, this is what it looks like to move forward. And then I break out my paperwork and we start signing. And if they're like, oh, I didn't think I was going to sign anything today, great, no problem. Let me go through this paperwork with you today. And if we need to delay or if we need to change anything, no problem. Ready to get started? That's kind of what it looks like.
Nice. Excellent. Let me follow that up with what kind of, and we'll work back down again. What kind of struggles? Tell me about the challenges that we're having getting listings in this crazy market. Jason.
Me? Oh, my
Jason,
apologies.
work our way back down.
I would say that overall, I feel like less people are ready, willing, and able to make a move. And so I have to do really 2 things. One is double down on my lead generation. So just having more conversations. That was kind of a challenge to get used to, but I've adjusted. I used to hold myself accountable for like 50 voice to voice and 50 text a week. Now it's 100 voice to voice, and then any text is just bonus. So doubling down on lead generation was like the first challenge for me. And then the next challenge was just learning some new tricks. I used to really just focus on my database. And then in like April, I realized my database wasn't performing for me like it used to. So that's when I started circle prospecting. Recently, I've started a for sale by owner system that I got from Jaime Corona. Call me if anybody wants to know what that's about. So just being willing to do some things that are uncomfortable, learning some new tricks.
It's no different than having your multiple, lead generation levers, right? You don't necessarily go into one. You've got multiple. One brings the most results, but now you've said, okay, my sphere may not be providing enough transactions, so I've got to pull other levers to get to the volume that I need to be.
That's exactly right. I used to do more open houses and door knocking. I'm not doing that right now. So I need to be dialing more cold calling and some targeting some specific people like for sale by owners.
Okay, awesome. Well, what about you, James? What are the struggles? What are the challenges right now in gaining listings in the market?
For us, as a team, we took a break. Realistically, our buyer's agents were busier than ever right when COVID hit. We had a few folks that, I get it, they had brand new babies or they had elderly parents living with them, or I even suggested, hey, you might not want to put your house on the market right now, right?
Yeah.
And so what I'm seeing now is those folks are up off the bench and back into selling their house. So we're making up for it. So that, that was a little bit of a challenge.
Yeah. It's kind of, was it difficult to switch gears to go from, okay, we're letting off the gas in the listing side of our business, and then now you're pressing the throttle and getting after it? Or is it just
well, and I think we talked about this on the last one of these panels. As soon as COVID hit, I stopped talking about business with clients.
Mm-hmm.
We didn't call them and talk about listings or real estate or anything like that. We just called to check in and see how they're doing. How's their family? Is there anything we can bring you? Delivered a lot of care packages to folks because I was able to go to the store. I was able to do stuff, and just didn't even talk about real estate.
well, we definitely did speak about that, and now that mind share that's been created is paying off, because I know you guys have a ton in escrow, so that's fantastic.
And I think Jason hit on it too. A lot of times you'll text your past client, right?
Mhm.
Hey, just checking in, how's it going? Where you made it a point to pick up the phone. Jessica Steele on my team actually has a great script for that. Hey, I know that we usually text or Snapchat or Instagram or Facebook or whatever, but I felt like you deserved a phone call. I felt like you deserved a phone call.
Funny.
How you doing?
That's a great one right there.
Because for her, a lot of her friends, when you call them, they're like, "Who died?"
Yeah.
So you have to know who you're talking to there.
Yeah, that's great. All right, Emily, what are you doing to overcome the challenges of getting listings right now?
So a lot of our listings are people that we thought were selling, kind of we're holding their breath. What is the market going to do? Maybe, we don't know what our job's doing. I had one listing person or seller, move away, and now they're moving back because the job came back. And so I lost that listing because they're moving back into their house. Yeah. So that's great. So it's just that constant contact. It's being consistent, following the plan, and just being petulant about it, just get in there and doing it. So making your calls, and, ask for what you want. If you don't ask for what you want, you're not going to get it. So who do you know that is moving, who lost their job, who's having struggles, who's hard to make payments, who do you know that's thinking about moving, and just real, and, then you continue with, and hey, would you, connect us with the group text? That's the best way to connect me with, anyone that so telling people, what you want and how you want it, are the biggest things that have been successful for us, as we've kind of been struggling through the listing side.
Excellent. That's great. I hear you. I think the script of, how can I serve you, is there a lot of times as I'm meeting with agents, which, my job mirrors your guys' jobs. And one of my scripts is I'm much more servant than salesperson. And you want to put people at ease and let them know that you're there to serve them and, and look after their best interests. So get after it. But you're exactly right. Frequency. How are you going to systematically touch base with these people and do it in frequency? And then also give value. So that's excellent. All right, we've got just probably a minute or two. Anybody have any questions for any of these fine young people on this call?
Anthony.
Let's go, Sotelo.
Hey, Carlton, can you do us a quick favor and go over the competition script? What exactly is that?
Yeah. So I'd call you and I'd say, hey, Anthony, thanks for taking my call. I was hoping you'd help me with the problem. And then you're like, sure. Great. I'm in a competition right now with some other agents in my office. And if I can get 10 appointments this month, I think I can win. Who do you know who's thinking of a move that I could call today? That's
Good.
it.
Nice one.
Thanks so much. I was just hoping that other people caught that.
Yep.
For sure. Thanks for bringing it up.
Any other questions from you guys? Going once, going twice. All right, you're going to hear a lot about listings. Hey, Sienna, you guys are going to hear a lot about listings from us moving forward. I'm going to let Cindy Powell wrap us up if she's still on the call with her MCA tip, and then we'll be done. Cindy, you got it.
Thanks, Jay. Well, I had already moved on to transmittal work, so let me get myself back into the groove. Just for MCA tip, we wanted to just cover the statuses in Loop. We've got a lot of new agents who have joined us, and they may not be aware that watching their loop is very important in helping them get paid quickly and on time. And so watching the statuses on your loop are going to make your life a lot easier. So the pending status means that the checks have not made it to the office yet. So if your loop status says pending and the status is found over on the left-hand side of the page, it's the column you can't do anything about. It's where when the broker reviews, it says approved or returned. The status, if it says pending, the office has not received the checks. If we have not received the checks within 24 hours of your closing, you need to contact your title company and find out why we haven't gotten the checks yet, or why they haven't been sent for review or for approval. Next up is final review. That means the checks are in the office. The office staff, the assistant MCA is Tiffany at KLP, and Cheyenne over here at
How are you?
the JV office. We'll set that to final review. They've processed your checks and sent it to the broker. Once checks are received, it's typical policy that the brokers have 24 hours to get those reviewed and get back to you by changing your status to file approved. Our brokers are amazing, and a lot of the time, if the file comes in early enough in the day, it can be approved that same day, but don't ever count on that. Just know that we give our brokers 24 hours. There's over 400 agents between the two market centers. Everybody's busy and doing something, so we give them 24 hours to get those reviewed. Once they put it in file approved, then it's back in front of Tiffany and Cheyenne, and they process what they need to do here in the office. We have a little system that we go through, doesn't take but just a few seconds, and then they put that file to closed. Once the status says closed, that means the checks are being walked to your file folder in the market center to be put in your file here. If you're going to choose to do the direct deposit, once it says closed, then that means that the direct deposit has been initiated when we start getting that process going. We're still not quite there yet, waiting on a few more little things with the bank. As soon as that's finalized, hopefully we'll be ready to do that sometime middle of July. So that's the MCA tip. Jay, anything else?
Nope, I'm just going to remind you guys, have a happy 4th of July. And if you haven't noticed, we're going to bring on 25 plus agents between the two market centers this month. And so we're hitting growth mode, guys. So keep your eyes out for agents that, you know, fit the culture and the professionalism that we want here. Who do you want to work with? And let's go, let me get on them. You send them to me and we'll have conversations with them. Okay. All right,
You're doing
guys.
a great job, Jay.
Thanks. Appreciate it. You guys have a great day. Have a great Wednesday and the rest of the week.
See you later.
Bye.
Bye.